This is Mitchell Sigman with Keyboard Magazine. We're here today with Korg's new King Korg modeling synthesizer. This models a lot of vintage analog synths, but it also does more than that. It's got digital waveforms, it's got PCM waveforms, it's a fully polyphonic synth, so it's not just mono, of course. And it also contains a pretty extensive filter section, which models 19 different analog filters. Some of them are modeled on classic synths. There's a Moog ladder filter, there are Oberheim state variable 12 dB style filters, there are Korg MS-20 filters, there's also a Prophet 5 filter, and amongst others we thought it would be fun to do a comparison and A/B them. And I should preface this by saying I wouldn't let this hugely influence whether I would buy it or not, because the filters sound great. Regardless of how our comparison test comes out, they sound great. And it's more just kind of for fun and games to sort of see how close they got. So not only are we going to A/B the Prophet 5 filters, but we're also going to A/B the Oberheim filters against a reissue Oberheim SEM module. And also we'll compare against my synthesizers.com modular synthesizer, which has a Moog 24 dB ladder filter. So it's not exactly a mini Moog, of course, but it's pretty close, and certainly captures the ballsy Moog sound. So with that said, let's get underway. My Prophet 5, I should warn everyone, I guess, is a little sick right now. For those of you familiar with Prophets, you probably have noticed that there's some lights on, but many lights not on. So it's functioning a little funky right now, but it works well enough that I can play it and sweep the filter, and then I think it's off to get it fixed. Also, as a qualifier, when we do all the synth audio, I'm going to switch the audio over to my hi-fi Logic rig as opposed to crummy camera audio that I'm talking into right now. For those keeping score, it'll be going through my Mackie line mixer and then into my fancy pants Mytek A to D converter and digitally into Logic. So we'll switch the audio over for that for best fidelity. Alright, the only other disclaimer I need to make is that on my particular Prophet 5, if you open the cutoff knob all the way, it doesn't open the filter 100%. If I add a little bit of envelope in there, sustain only, so in other words, it's not shaping it at all, it's just making it more open, it opens up a little more, gets a tiny bit brighter. So I've taken the provision of doing that on the Prophet. Like I said, it's probably unique to my Prophet, it's probably just not calibrated correctly, and that's not necessary on the Korg. So let's start with a single sawtooth wave, no resonance, and we're going to open the filter on my Prophet. Alright, now on the Korg. Okay, now let's try the same with resonance about halfway up. And on the Korg. Okay, now let's do maximum resonance on both. This could be pretty ear-rattling. Prophet first. And the Korg. Now, interestingly, you hear that there's not even any sawtooth wave left in the Korg, and you can certainly still hear the oscillator on the Prophet. So there's a big difference there. And you can also hear that the sweep range is quite a bit bigger on the Korg. Alright, so that's it for the Prophet filter. And obviously there's some sonic differences there, but I think a lot of those differences have to do more with where the resonance kicks in more, what the top and bottom range are, but none of that really necessarily conveys the actual sound quality, which of course you got to hear in the tests. I'd say in practice, using it, it does effectively capture the character of it in the sense that there's a sweetness to a Prophet CEM filter that's a little different character than, say, the raw aggressiveness of a Moog filter or the kind of honkiness of an Oberheim filter. It does have the sweetness that a Prophet has when you use it with swept sounds or plinky envelopes, that kind of thing. So I would say it effectively gets the character, and most importantly, it's a nice sounding filter. It's fat, to use that word that I hate to use. A lot of replicated digital filters I hear, especially when you go up against the real thing, they fall apart. They sound thin and digitally crusty and just not nice on the ears. And I gotta say the Korg really does have that sort of nice quality, so it holds its own. All right, next up in our Super Filter Showcase Showdown Comparo, we have the Tom Oberheim SEM module. This is a reissue SEM. This is not an original, but mine has the unique quality that it is a prototype that Tom built when he started building them a couple years ago. So this isn't actually a production model. It has a few quirks that make it different from a regular one, but sound-wise and circuitry-wise, it is exactly like the ones you can buy now. The only quirk of mine that's significant for our purposes is, strangely enough, like my Prophet, it has the same problem that when you open up the filter frequency all the way, it's not really open all the way. So I have to do the same trick with the envelope generator for the filter, where I crank the sustain all the way up and it gooses the filter open a little more and you can get the full wide filter. I have no idea why this follows me. For some reason, me and analog synthesis just don't like wide open filters. So with that said, let's get it underway. Also, real quick, I'm using the King Korg's MIDI into my .com, which you can sort of see down there, as a MIDI to CV converter. So I'll be using the King Korg to play both of them, but you'll see I'll turn the volume down and up on each one of them to compensate for that. So first off, let's start with the SEM module. And now the King Korg. Okay, now let's try the same thing with a fairly large amount of resonance. Okay, and now on the King Korg. All right, now we're going to go ahead and compare the high-pass filter in the SEM to the King Korg's Oberheim high-pass filter, and we'll start out again with a sawtooth wave with no resonance. And now the King Korg. Now we'll do the same thing with the resonance cranked up all the way. And now the same with the King Korg. Okay, I'd say they nailed it pretty close. Like with the Prophet 5, you'll see that the knob ranges are a little different, and the resonance sort of kicks in a little bit differently, sort of in a different place. But again, in use, that probably wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. Tonally, they're very close. The only place where the SEM has a big advantage over the King Korg is it has a continuously variable control from low pass to high pass. You don't switch this between low pass and high pass. You literally turn this knob and go between them, and that's a really nifty feature that I haven't really seen anywhere else. It lets you get some unique sounds. Probably in the modular world you could replicate that, but not any other synth I've seen. But again, a small sacrifice, considering that these are about the same price, and you've got 19 filters in here as opposed to one filter here and one voice. So pretty good showing. We now move on with the final round of our King Korg filter comparison challenge. The last filter we're going to A/B is going to be the Moog ladder filter that everybody knows and loves. This here is not actually a classic Moog modular. It is a synthesizers.com modular. It's a modern day synth, and it has a really great Moog style filter in it that I think is pretty authentic. Most people would agree. So let's start with this. Sawtooth wave, no resonance. Let's go. And now the King Korg. And now with resonance at about 50%, .com modular first. And now the King Korg. All right, now with the resonance super screaming. And the King Korg. All right, here we definitely are hearing some differences, and it doesn't surprise me. The modular generally beats out anything I've heard. That's why you go to the trouble of having a modular, I suppose. The biggest difference to my ears being when the resonance is cranked. The King Korg is just more whistly, and the tone of the oscillator just sort of disappears. Whereas with the modular, you've got the bark of the oscillator still comes through, but the resonance is sort of sitting nicely on top of it and congeals very beautifully. So that said, I'm still hearing, with both the resonant and the non-resonant version, I'm still hearing the character. The character's there. It's not as if, oh, well, this is just some random filter they decided to call a Moog filter. It still has the character of a Moog filter, it's just not as aggressive and big as the modular. That pretty much wraps up our King Korg filter comparison test. I hope I haven't been unduly harsh, because comparing these two guys is kind of unfair. But all in all, these filters sound really great. They're some of the best sounding digital filter emulations I've heard. And as mentioned, there's 19 of them, so you have a lot of tonal variety going on. And before I let you go, I wanted to demo one more of them. It's the MS-20 high-pass filter, which I can't compare with another one because I don't have an MS-20 here, but this filter is loads of fun. So before I let you go, I just wanted to demo this one real quick. Thanks for watching. This is Mitchell Sigman for Keyboard Magazine.